Hey, what's going on? This is Icon again, going through another episode of Just Saying. Going over this week in wrestling for this week in wrestling, covering Monday Night Raw, Tuesday Night SmackDown, Wednesday Lucha Underground, Thursday TNA, and going over some NXT. So without further ado, let's just get right into it and start off with Monday Night Raw. So the opening segment of the show. It starts out with the women. It has Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Mick Foley in the ring discussing the plans for who's going to face Charlotte at the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. Now this is a little awkward because Sasha Banks, being the champion who lost at SummerSlam, she's owed a championship rematch. Bayley actually pinned Charlotte last week on Monday Night Raw, and whenever you pin the champion, that automatically puts you in line for a title shot. So the weird thing about it is Mick Foley ends up making a triple threat match because Dana Brooke couldn't take it anymore and slapped Charlotte for Charlotte talking down to her and mistreating her, which was cool to see. But then Mick Foley decides to make a triple threat match between Bayley, Sasha, and Dana Brooke, which doesn't make sense to me at all. Because, first of all, Sasha is owed a mandatory rematch. Like, that goes without saying. I understand Bayley, she got the pin and Bayley, should be in the running, but that has nothing to do with a guaranteed rematch. If anything, Bayley should face the winner between Charlotte and Sasha after the Clash of Champions pay-per-view, and then Dana Brooke basically just got thrown in the match because she decided to stand up for herself. Now, had Dana Brooke actually won that triple threat, it would have been like, how are you going to take away something from Sasha that she's contractually obligated to do? You can't give Dana Brooke her spot when she's owed that spot due to contract, and then just glosses over the fact that Bayley even wrestled to begin with. Because then if I'm Bayley, I'm like, well, I didn't have to wrestle with Charlotte. I could have just slapped her in the locker room, and then I would have automatically got a title match. So Mick Foley ends up, as much sense as it doesn't make, Mick Foley still goes through with it, and then he ends up putting all three of them in a triple threat match to see who gets to face Charlotte at Clash of Champions. So during the match with Charlotte on commentary, Sasha Banks ends up breaking up a pin that Bayley had on Dana Brooke after Dana Brooke took the Bayley to belly. And the weird thing about the closer to this match, aside from the fact that Sasha basically had to fight for a spot that she's already earned, when she hit that roll-up pin on Bayley, it looked like Sasha's shoulders were down. It almost looked as though Bayley's foot was covering one of Sasha's shoulders. Both shoulders looked down to me, and it actually looked like a double pin. But whether or not they address that is, that's up to them. But like I said, I just thought like the pin was a little weird. But with that being said, I'll let it slide because Sasha should have never been put in this match to begin with. So now we officially have Sasha versus Charlotte, the rematch for the WWE Women's Championship. Dana Brooke then, after going through all that and making a stand for herself, ends up apologizing to Charlotte for everything that she's done and hit her with the "please take me back." And then Charlotte was just like, grab my bags, and then she walked off. So I guess these two are back together. However, I did hear that Emma is coming back. So maybe with the return of Emma, the original team that was supposed to be there will get back together. Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho exchanged words on the highlight reel, so it looks like this is going to be a thing now. Jericho basically slapped the taste out of his mouth, which was hard enough to put Sami Zayn onto the ground, and then he hits him with a code breaker, and now we're going to get a Sami Zayn Chris Jericho feud, which is actually going to be nice to see because I have no idea what the hell Sami Zayn has been doing or where he's been for the last 2 to 3 months. So Chris Jericho versus Sami Zayn, I'll buy it for now, but we'll see how the outcome turns out. Cesaro and Sheamus had what was match 5 in their best of 7 series, because apparently match number 4 took place on a random house show that nobody saw, in which Cesaro got the win, obviously, because this feud is still going. Cesaro ends up cheating to get the victory in this match, and he ends up picking up a second win. So now the series is 3-2 Sheamus, and we have 2 more matches to go. And like I said before, this thing's going full 7, and Cesaro's going to come out on top and earn himself that championship spot. So Alicia Fox died tonight. She went up against Nia Jax, to play up on that exchange they had in the back, and crazy Alicia Fox came back. She did put up a good fight. Obviously not good enough. It's weird though, because you can see how much taller Alicia is over Nia Jax, but in the end, she may be taller, she's not bigger, and Nia Jax was pretty much just able to manhandle her like nobody's business. And they even allowed her to do something that completely shocked me, which you really don't see from women. You really don't see from the women. They actually allowed her to spear Alicia Fox through the barricade, which broke Alicia Fox in half, and we probably won't be seeing her for a while. But I will say this: the backstage stuff between the two of them was a little choppy. It did spark some intrigue. It was a little choppy, but to see the match the two of them have end up like this, I'm on board with that, and I hope what happens now. I hope every single time Nia Jax is in a squash match or beating up somebody, I hope Alicia Fox comes out, the two of them start fighting and have to get broken up, and I hope this match builds into something. I mean, we all know in the end Nia Jax is the new girl on the block, so they're not gonna let Alicia Fox beat her. That's pretty obvious, but I like the intrigue of the two of them going back and forth. So, in the interest of lightening the mood after Alicia Fox's funeral, they bring out the New Day versus Gallows and Anderson. Surprisingly, Xavier Woods this time had the match. Maybe because Big E has a small nagging injury. Maybe because Big E had the one-on-one last week, they decided to give Xavier Woods and Kofi the match this week. Or maybe just that Woods is getting paid to wrestle, and that's the one thing he's not doing. One thing I will say with this entire feud situation between both sides, it's actually nice to see them wrestle for a change. I mean, we did get another one of their less than stellar promos, but it did result into a really decent tag team match. But unfortunately, for the sake of keeping this feud going, and for people to believe that Gallows and Anderson actually have a shot of winning the tag team bronze or the tag team pennies, Gallows and Anderson pick up the win. They pick up the win against the New Day, and going into Clash of Champions, it will be New Day versus Gallows and Anderson. So that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. That's where we're going, and I guess it's only a matter of time before Gallows and Anderson win the belts, because they've already had one match. They've already had one match with them that they won by disqualification, so this is going to be their rematch. If they don't win this match, it is pretty much over for Gallows and Anderson. And unless they're going to do New Day versus Enzo and Cass, look for Gallows and Anderson to win the tag team titles at Clash of Champions. Okay, now this whole thing was really weird, especially because it was September 11th. And, you got the Arab guy, you got the Middle Eastern guy on September 11th. He's in the ring talking about peace and meditation and love. And then they bring out Jack Swagger, who's been at the end of the bench for Vince McMahon for a long time. And, I was talking to one of my friends, and we both, when Jack Swagger's music hit, the two of us just broke out into, laughter and tears. Because, of course, you're going to have the all-American guy wrestle the timid Middle Eastern Arab guy on September 11th. And then you got Jinder Mahal coming out overly going out of his way to promote peace. It was, I don't know, it's like I almost feel bad that I found it somewhat entertaining. But the shocker in the whole ordeal was that Jinder Mahal won the match, much to the surprise of everybody. If I had to take a guess, there's no way I would have thought the Arabic guy would beat the All-American guy on September 11th in a WWE match in a WWE ring. So I guess kudos to WWE for doing that, because that was definitely a surprise. And with that being said, it's not like he's cursing out Americans. He's still promoting. It's not like he's cursing out America. He's still promoting peace and love. So hey, kudos to Jinder Mahal, because I was the one that called him Jobber Mahal when he ended up on Raw and not SmackDown. So to see him actually get a win for a change is refreshing. So again, kudos to Jinder Mahal, and hopefully he'll get another win next week. Now on to the situation with Enzo and Cass, the most over team who picks up the least amount of wins. And I don't understand why. I don't understand what WWE is doing with them. Even if the New Day defeats Gallows and Anderson, and they decide to have the New Day go up against Kaz and Enzo, tell me why I should care at this point, because Kaz and Enzo have lost in both singles and tag team competition. They have lost every single match that they've had since SummerSlam, and they lost at SummerSlam. The two of them are on a losing streak. They lost twice to the Shining Stars, maybe 3, and they're pretty much just killing one of the most over teams that they have. There's really not much I can say about this. I mean, we all know that if Vince had his way, you know, Kaz would be a singles and Enzo would be his manager, but maybe this is leading up. Well, hell, it's good for the Shining Stars, so I like the fact that the Shining Stars are picking up victories. But yeah, not too much to say about Enzo and Kaz. They lose again. Now for the main event, which puts the WWE Universal Champion Kevin Owens against Roman Reigns. If Roman Reigns wins this match, he gets into the championship title picture at the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. During the match, again, Roman Reigns getting booed for entirely no reason. During the match, Seth Rollins does come out, and you know he does interfere. He gets involved in the match, which then brings out Mick Foley. Mick Foley tells Seth Rollins there's going to be consequences and repercussions for his actions, and Seth Rollins is escorted out of the building by security. Not J&J security, just security. So then towards the closing moments of this matchup, just when Roman Reigns looks like he's about to get the victory, Rusev shows up at coming off of his honeymoon and gets involved in the match. This causes Kevin Owens to catch Roman Reigns with the pump-up powerbomb, and Kevin Owens gets the 1-2-3 victory, which makes the audience, which causes the audience to collectively have an accident because Roman Reigns lost the match. Okay, it's not that big a deal. Kevin Owens goes off into the sunset, and then Rusev proceeds to get his revenge on Roman Reigns, because apparently the beef from SummerSlam still isn't over. And Rusev is still trying to defend the honor of his wife and his marriage, which he should. Can't hate a guy for that. So it looks like the program between these two is not over yet. We are going to get Rusev versus Roman Reigns one more time, which should make the crowd shut the F up and stop complaining about Roman Reigns, period. We get a one-on-one match between Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, and it looks like the Clash of the Champions pay-per-view is looking to be pretty decent, despite only having 5 champions. But now that TJ Perkins did win the Cruiserweight Classic, and he's now the Cruiserweight Champion, I guess you can add that one to the mix too, so I think that leaves the... Actually, I think that makes the title count 5. So we'll see if anything else gets added, but I'm not sure what else they could do. But, a decent show from Raw. Wasn't the greatest show of all time. There were some good moments. There were definitely some bad moments. Obviously, if you saw the show, you saw that I skipped over some of the more boring moments of the night. But they said overall a decent show. So, I would give it a 6-7. Just based on the fact that the matches were kind of cool. Time for a little SmackDown now. A show time. Coming off the heels of the Backlash pay-per-view, which John Cena was not a part of. I guess he felt left out and decided to make his presence felt on SmackDown. AJ Styles starts off the show proclaiming to the audience over and over again that not only is he the face that runs the place, but he is also the champ that runs the camp. John Cena comes out to basically, I guess, put him in check or to explain himself. And for some reason, after losing clean at SummerSlam, John Cena says that it's time for him to become a 16-time champion and demands that he gets a title shot against AJ Styles. Why, I don't know, because John Cena has done nothing to earn a title shot, and just because you're John Cena and just because you want to become a 16-time champion does not mean you just automatically get a title shot. Dean Ambrose feels the same way, and he interrupts the verbal joust between between AJ Styles and John Cena, and he lets John Cena know that he doesn't consider John Cena anything. He doesn't consider him a threat. He's just somebody that's trying to be like The Rock now and do Hollywood and do movies while Ambrose is there busting his ass 24 hours a day. John Cena got a little verbal offense on him. Calling him out because of what Stone Cold said to him on the podcast. And for some reason, we actually got a Cena chant. So that was a little weird. But in the end, the two of them exchange, exchange decent verbiage going back and forth. Most would say that John Cena got the better of him in the exchange. But then Shane McMahon comes out and says that he's going to make the match for No Mercy, the championship title match for No Mercy, a triple threat match between AJ Styles, John Cena, and Dean Ambrose. And that is not cool, because just like with the Raw women's situation, why does Dean Ambrose have to fight in a triple threat match when he's owed a guaranteed rematch, one-on-one rematch for the title? Shane even said, "Don't worry, you'll get your one-on-one match." So, despite all that, looks like Shane lied, and we're now getting a triple threat match for the WWE Heavyweight Championship at the next SmackDown pay-per-view, which is No Mercy. Alright, so Miz and Dolph Ziggler ended up exchanging words, where Dolph Ziggler pretty much asked for a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. Miz told him no, and then Maurice tried to get involved, which brought out Daniel Bryan, who interrupted Maurice and basically acknowledged the fact that Maurice did cheat to help the Miz win the Intercontinental title match at the Backlash pay-per-view. So with that being said, he's going to give Dolph Ziggler a rematch, which I think is fair. He lost due to outside interference, so he should get another shot at the title. So the Miz ends up blowing a gasket, saying that Dolph Ziggler doesn't deserve a title shot, and then he brings up the fact that his contract never got renegotiated. So he basically holds the Intercontinental title up for ransom and tells Daniel Bryan that he's not going to defend the belt until his contract gets renegotiated. Now, why Daniel Bryan didn't just strip him at that moment, I have no idea. But from what I hear, they are actually going to renegotiate the Miz's contract, which I think is hilarious and it'll make funny TV. So until that contract gets renegotiated, which it'll probably have 50 million stipulations for the Intercontinental title match coming up at No Mercy, looks like the Miz is going to be MIA from SmackDown television. Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews end up having a rematch from their Backlash kickoff show. And before Apollo Crews could even before the bell even rang, Baron Corbin ended up attacking Apollo Crews, put him out on the outside, which I figured, I was like, okay, so it looks like they're going to drag this feud out a little bit longer. But as Baron Corbin was standing there in his triumphant glory, former Raw superstar Jack Swagger comes out. He did say on Raw that his contract was was expiring, and apparently he signed with SmackDown, Tuesday Night SmackDown, which basically means that, well, it's no secret. Like, if you look at the SmackDown roster, there are really only, like, with the exception of tag teams, there are really only 4 faces on the entire SmackDown roster. And 4 faces obviously isn't enough. 4 faces obviously isn't enough, so they got to pull some of that talent from Raw that isn't being utilized and put them on the SmackDown brand so SmackDown can beef up a little bit. So adding Jack Swagger is a good thing. I wouldn't mind seeing Jack. I definitely don't mind seeing Jack Swagger on the SmackDown roster. I would like Jinder Mahal to come over as well. Maybe take 1 or 2 more people, like maybe put Curtis Axel on there. But if they do that, if they end up taking a couple of guys from Raw that aren't being used and they switch them over to SmackDown, I'm definitely all for that. The sad part in all this is that Apollo Crews gets lost in the shuffle because they never actually stated what's going on with him. But we got a new SmackDown superstar, so that's definitely not a bad thing. Now we have a 5-packed women's challenge to determine the number 1 contender for Becky Lynch's WWE Women's Championship. It was basically there's only 6 girls on the show, 7 if you count Eva Marie. So the girls who didn't win ended up getting put in a number 1 contenders match. The match was definitely good. It was very entertaining. And I gotta be honest, I actually wanted Naomi to win this match. You know, I was like rooting for her the whole time, and then I thought about it because I said to myself, Becky just won the title. You know, she's an over champion. They're gonna run with her for a while. I actually don't want Naomi to win because we all know that when you face a champion, as soon as they win a title, you know, at least like 80% of the time, the first challenger Becky faces isn't going to win. Like, we know the first challenger isn't going to win. So it's better to make her first challenger like a Carmella or, you know, or an Alexa Bliss, or hell, even Natalia. You know, whereas like someone like Nikki, you know, someone like Naomi, the two of them can actually defeat Becky Lynch in a match. So why put them? So, you know, why put them through that? Have them have a title match right out the gate where they're not going to win and end up getting squashed. So, you know, definitely kudos to that. In the end, Alexa Bliss ends up getting the victory, and she becomes the #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and I'm perfectly fine with that because it puts Alexa Bliss on a platform and lets everybody know that she's championship worthy. You know, she's a championship contender, but at the same time, we know she's not going to win. So it's not about her winning the title, it's about her skills being showcased and about her looking like a threat in the eyes of the fans going forward. So kudos to Alexa Bliss. I'm looking forward to an Alexa Bliss Becky Lynch match. I hope Becky has a decent run, and then I hope Naomi takes the title off her eventually. So good matchup by the women. Heath Slater signed his SmackDown contract, which brought out the Ascension to challenge them and become the first sacrificial lambs. And of course, they lose the match. Heath Slater and Rhino pick up the victory, and it looks like this Heath Slater Rhino train is definitely going to be running at least for a little while longer. But happy to see Heath Slater finally sign a contract, and knowing he's going to be on the SmackDown roster going forward. If they take the titles off them, he'll be a good singles competitor. So good move, and the stock is rising for Heath Slater. Definitely interested in seeing what he can do going forward. The Bray Wyatt Randy Orton beef isn't over. During a promo with Randy Orton in the ring, Eric Rowan returns to do the dirty work for Bray Wyatt, and he takes an RKO for his trouble. So Randy Orton's apparently not that hurt the way they tried to portray him as being hurt on the Backlash pay-per-view. Eric Rowan has returned, so it looks like we might get the Wyatt family looks like it's coming back together. Maybe Luke Harper shows up in the following week, and the feud between Orton and Bray Wyatt continues. So all night, AJ Styles has been trying to find a partner for his main event tag team match. Daniel Bryan appointed some random jobber to be his tag team partner. And then The Miz comes out, proving to everybody that he deserves to be a main event player and that he should be a main event player. Ends up beating the crap out of the kid that was handpicked to be AJ Styles' partner. And The Miz himself decides to be AJ Styles' partner. And he takes over, which he should because he is the Intercontinental Champion. He's been doing all this trash talking. He says he's main event. So if you're main event, put yourself in the main event. You're the Intercontinental Champion. Though he was just talking about renegotiating his contract, and now he's plugging himself into main event tag team matches. But now we have John Cena and Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles and The Miz. In the end, no surprise here. Dean Ambrose and John Cena pick up the victory, and now we start the feud between Dean Ambrose and John Cena. The triple threat match is obviously going to end with AJ Styles picking up the victory. I mean, I can call that one right now. And it looks like at some point we will get a one-on-one matchup between John Cena and Dean Ambrose, which I hope Dean Ambrose does win. And in this match, after they pick up the tag team victory, John Cena doing the usual, I was cursing you out earlier, but we're tag partners now, so now we're cool, and everything I said earlier just doesn't matter. Shake my hand, brother, and blah, blah, blah. Dean Ambrose, he's not that type of person, to go through all that hunky-dory stuff. So then he gives John Cena the dirty deeds in the middle of the ring, which was much appreciated. Which is definitely much appreciated by me. I mean, the fans were actually booing, which is shocking. But I don't think this symbolizes a Dean Ambrose heel turn. But Dean Ambrose is Dean Ambrose. Like, that's his character, so he should take out John Cena. Overall, SmackDown was a good show. Decent show again. I'd definitely give it a 7. Love the interview that Alexa Bliss had on Talking Smack after the show went off the air, and I look forward to next week's SmackDown Live. Time for some TNA. Broken Matt, coming off the aftermath of Delete versus Decay. Turns out Jeff Hardy isn't dead. His resurrection has begun, Matt Hardy is trying to restore the Hardy clan so they can, so they can take down Decay. And this is actually pretty funny because in an effort to cleanse the soul of one Jeffrey Hardy, he puts him he puts him into the purifying waters, trying to revive him and revitalize him. And just like what they did with Joseph Park, where Joseph Park ended up falling into the water, like Abyss ended up falling into the lake, and he came back out as Joseph Park. They did the same thing with Jeff, where he puts Jeff in the water, and then Jeff comes out as like the original Jeff Hardy from when he was with the Immortal days with Hogan. He even had his old school Immortal Heavyweight Championship title on his shoulders, which I thought was really hilarious. And, he even cut like a decent promo, but then Matt tells him like he doesn't need this version of Jeff Hardy. He needs Brother Nero, and then he puts him back under the water. Brother Nero comes out, and now we have the Hardys back at full strength. The search for Senor Benjamin has begun, and Delete or Decay will continue. So I look forward to seeing where they can take this, because this whole thing has been pretty crazy so far, and crazy in wrestling is definitely a good thing. After Bobby Lashley whooped on EC3 during their press conference last week, he gets in the ring and talks about how he's an unstoppable force, he's the greatest champion of all time, and nobody can beat him. Which brings out Grado of all people. And as soon as Grado came out, the first thing that popped in my mind is start the count, because it's only a matter of time, 10 seconds less before Grado gets his ass completely kicked by Bobby Lashley, which is what ended up happening. Grado gets his brains beat in, gets put down by the heavyweight champion of the world, and after Bobby Lashley picks up the microphone and talks more-ish, who comes out other than the newly signed Moose? And, I gotta tell you, not sure how I feel about a face Moose. I like Moose as a heel a little better, but the crowd seems to enjoy him. The crowd seems to be over with him doing the Moose chant. And at this point, when he came out, I was kind of like, it was cool. I was just like, yeah, Moose versus Lashley. But then there was a part of me that was like, no, don't give me Moose versus Lashley yet. Like, save that for something big. Save that for a big pay-per-view. But they gave us a little tease. And throughout the entire thing with them, they've pretty much just been giving us like little teases of Moose versus Lashley. They're obviously not going to fight at Bound for Glory, because that spot already belongs to EC3, and Moose already has a match. So, at the end of this conflict, Moose ends up telling Bobby Lashley he's going to call him out at the end of the night to have a fight, to fight him like a man one-on-one, and to see if Bobby Lashley actually shows up. What scares me is how much bigger Moose is than Bobby Lashley, because Bobby Lashley's a big guy, but compared to Moose, Bobby Lashley looks like a regular dude, which is really freaky. So anything between these two, sign me up for it. I'm down for it, and I look forward to whatever they're going to bring us going forward. Aaron Rex had his debut match in TNA Impact. His first match, his debut match, his first match. He does win this match via pinfall with a spinning discus forearm. And his outfit, is pretty much the same as it was when he was in WWE. Style is a little bit more aggressive, a little bit different. He definitely changed up some things. So we've got Drew Galloway, we've got Eli Drake, and we've got Aaron Rex. Next up is Eddie Edwards, which I'm pretty sure he's going to win too. And there's your final four for the for the TNA Grand Championship. But definitely good showing by Aaron Rex. So Maria tries to have Gail's TNA induction ceremony early, just to get it out of the way so it doesn't become a distraction at Bound for Glory. This brings out Dixie Carter, who, like I said, told Maria that she was delusional, thinking that she still had power in the women's division while she's currently the champion. Dixie says that she will put Gail Kim into the Knockouts Gauntlet to determine the number one contender, and Maria's just got to shut up and eat that one. So, so that's what we get. Gail Kim's in the mix. Dixie Carter laid down the authority. Maria no longer has power, and now she's going to have to put up or shut up. So apparently, according to Matt Hardy, for Glory they are bound. And he challenges Decay to the Great War, which I have no idea what that is. And if it's anything like what we've seen from from these two groups so far, it'll probably be them literally fighting throughout the entire planet. They will probably literally be fighting in every single country throughout the entire planet. Maybe green screen, but again, as crazy as this stuff is between them, I'm actually extremely interested in seeing what's going to happen. The best part about the entire promo, we got the one thing that we didn't get in their first matchup, Deleted Decay. We finally got a little scramble between the women, which is what everybody wanted to see from Jump Street. We got Rosemary versus Reby, and that sparked an all-out brawl. She called her an unfit mother, and then after that, ass needed to be whipped at that point. So, yeah, despite the Pope sitting in his chair on his phone while this whole thing was going on, I'm definitely down with Deleted Decay. I'm entertained by everything that both sides are doing. I'm actually interested to see what the hell this this World War thing that they're gonna do is, since they're both teams are, as Matt so put it, for glory they are bound. We'll see who the glory belongs to after the tag team titles go on the line during this match. Now the knockouts gauntlet match begins, and Maria brings out a new girl called Laurel Van Ness, who basically takes Allie's place in the gauntlet match because, according to Maria, Allie sucks and doesn't deserve to be in the match because she's not a wrestler. Been saying that since the beginning, but it's nice to see a new face, though. Wasn't surprised when I saw it was another blonde. Pretty decent. I mean, I am, for one, the only thing about this that I'm happy about is I got to see Marty Bell, but but the way it was set up, the way everything was, the way the build-up was, we all know what the end result is, and that's Gail Kim winning the gauntlet match and challenging Maria at Bound for Glory for the Knockouts Championship, and which she's most likely going to win because she's going into the Hall of Fame. So I just want to say right now, congratulations to Gail. Maria shouldn't be wrestling anyway because she has a broken hand. So this match should be very quick. But it's good to see Jade, good to see Marty again, and definitely excited for Gail Kim when she finally wins that title. Eddie Edwards wins his Grand Championship match, as I knew he would, and brings us to the main event where Bobby Lashley and Moose squared off in fisticuffs, which turned into an all-out brawl that we all saw coming. And this is the first time I've actually seen somebody manhandle Bobby Lashley, so it was pretty cool to see. And during Bobby Lashley's manhandling, out comes the Miracle Mike Bennett, who basically got involved. So it seems like Bobby Lashley and Mike Bennett are in cahoots now, aspiring against Moose. I'm surprised that that the Miracle even fell for that pep talk by Bobby Lashley, because he was the master of trying to manipulate everybody when he was the one who had the heavyweight championship title match. So the two of them basically get the better of Moose. They start putting the boots to him, which brings out the one person who the entire night was missing in action, which is EC3. After taking that savage beating by Bobby Lashley the previous week, EC3 comes out to not to save Moose. Him and Moose pretty much don't even know each other or have an alliance, but not to save Moose, but to get some revenge on Bobby Lashley for what he did, and to lead up to their Bound for Glory match. So it looks like next Thursday on Impact, we are going to get ourselves a good old-fashioned tag team match between the Miracle Mike Bennett and Bobby Lashley versus EC3 and Moose. So seeing as how none of these four guys are friends, it's interesting to see how the tag teams are gonna, how the tag team matches are gonna work out. Are partners gonna be made? Are people gonna get into beef? Is there gonna be some pushing back and forth? But overall, definitely good solid show by TNA. I'd give it a 6.5, 7. I give it a 7. It was actually pretty entertaining. So definitely good show for TNA this week. Tonight's Lucha Underground was set up to finally have the finale of Killshot versus Marty the Moth. A matchup that should have been at Ultima Lucha 2, but they ended up giving it. They didn't put it on the card. They ended up giving it to us early. Just to recap some things that happened early in the show. Famous B, my man Famous B, showed up. His client, the Doctor, got a win over his former client. Mira Mortez had a squash match, which brought out Prince Puma to rekindle the rivalry between those two competitors, and we got a lot of backstage action. One of the things about Lucha Underground that I like the fact that they do kind of set it up like it's like like you're watching a movie, and whereas that the female police detective, that female police chief, she ends up first they end up doing a promo where they show a little girl talking to her father on his deathbed, and the father ends up giving her a medallion. The medallion which allows her to have immortality. Now, at first, they made it seem like that police detective woman, was the recipient of the medal of the medallion, and that was her all those years ago whose father died. But interesting enough, she only has one half of the medallion. So that leads some questions, and I didn't notice at first. Like at first, I actually didn't notice that she only had half of it. I wasn't really paying attention to that fact until the end of the show came. But then we'll talk about that in a minute. But after months and months of feuding between the two of them, and even with Marty the Moth obtaining Killshot's dog tags and holding on to them from season 2 going all the way into season 3, this feud finally comes to an end with Killshot getting his revenge. He does retrieve his long eluded dog tags. He finally gets his dog tags back. He ends up putting Marty the Moth through a table, and finally Killshot picks up the victory over Marty the Moth, and this feud is over. Which it's cool because the matchup was good. It definitely put Killshot in a likable stance with the audience, and and I hope they do more things with Killshot going forward. Like I actually want to see him mix it up with like other people. I definitely would like to see him, like in the title hunt, maybe going for one of those championships. Not a trios thing because he's not the type of guy that should be in a team. Like he's the type of guy that should be one-on-one doing his own thing. So definitely kudos to Killshot and to Marty for putting up a good match, and I definitely can't wait to see where both competitors go from here now that this feud is officially over. And finally, Mira Mortez is in the back, losing his ish over the fact that Prince Puma came after him. He cries out that he wants a piece of Puma. Where Katrina tells him to calm down. She tells him to wait, like, Puma's time will come. And then Katrina reveals that she has the other half of that immortality medallion, which actually makes sense because Katrina has had these weird powers ever since she debuted in Lucha Underground, and they never explained where she got these powers from. She's like the female Undertaker, and that was never brought up. That was never established. But now that you see that Katrina has half of an immortality medallion, and that policewoman has the other half, who knows? Maybe they're sisters. Maybe they're both on opposite ends of a long-standing rivalry. Hell, maybe the policewoman is the good side, and Katrina is the dark side, and they're basically two halves of the same person. So I'm actually invested into this now. Like I it was a little weird at first. I was wondering where it was going, but to have but to have it very vague, not knowing if that small little child was Katrina or if it was the policewoman, and then to have both of them with a half of a medallion, which means they have half immortality. I don't know how long half immortality is, but that seems to be what was happening. But I'm in. Two hot women, a nice little backstory aside from all the wrestling stuff. I can't complain. So definitely a good show for Lucha Underground. I definitely give Lucha Underground a seven and a half. Only because there wasn't a lot of wrestling tonight, but you get the extra, like the show itself was a 7 because there were only really 3 matches, but the stuff that happened with Killshot and Marty the Moth was good enough to at least get it a half. So yeah, definitely 7.5 for Lucha Underground. I actually enjoyed it this week. Now, real quick, just want to go through some NXT. The NXT show starts with Samoa Joe humbly getting in the ring, telling fans that he was mouthing off. He recognizes good talent, and Nakamura's a good dude. He wants to shake his hand, and he tells him as soon as he's healed up and ready, he wants his rematch. Nakamura foolishly shakes his hand, and everybody thought there was a beatdown coming. They thought that some ass woman was coming, but no, Joe actually just shook his hand, like a man, and walked up the ramp in defeat. But much like with what Austin Aries did to No Way Jose, Samoa Joe pulled the wool over everyone's eyes as he comes back out and proceeds to beat the ever-loving hell out of Shinsuke Nakamura. You know, he pushes him into the light fixtures that are on the floor. I noticed that right off the bat. You know, he throws him into the ring, you know, gives him the rock bottom, you know, on top of the steps. And it was funny thing, like the way they sold this, it wasn't just like Nakamura came out and just, you know, got his ass handed to him. They actually ran with it to the point where they carried Nakamura out on a stretcher. You know, and even myself, you know, I was shocked that they even did that, and then I was even more interested because usually when someone gets beat up like that and the paramedics come out and they try to put the person on the stretcher, they usually cut to the next sequence, cut to the backstage stuff, because you know nobody wants, that's like time consuming. Nobody wants to see this guy get put on the stretcher and then have him like wheeled out because it takes too damn long. We got a show to run and nobody wants to see that. But they actually let this run. They actually like allowed us to watch him get put on the stretcher, get picked up, get put on the gurney, you know, and was being pushed out of the arena to the point where I thought Joe was going to come back out and knock him off the stretcher, you know, but that didn't happen. You know, Joe didn't do that. Nakamura ended up going to the hospital, and the blood between the two of them has been boiled and has been renewed. So it looks like Samoa Joe isn't leaving the NXT brand anytime soon. He's got a couple more matches to go with Nakamura, and after that, then maybe Joe will get the call-up, which coincidentally is right around Survivor Series or maybe the Royal Rumble. Women's action now, NXT Women's action. Liv Morgan versus this girl who I swear I keep thinking is Blue Pants. She's actually not Blue Pants, but she's also not known enough to the point where she would be able to get a win over a girl like Liv Morgan. The two of them go face to face. Not a lot in this match. I mean, I wasn't really interested in it, but lo and behold, Liv Morgan, who was 0 for like 30 when she first started making her appearances, but now that she's part of the new generation of girls that's being brought up, she's finally getting some wins. She definitely picks up the win, you know, in this match, you know, with an easy, clean 1-2-3. And then she proceeds to lose her ever-loving mind, where she comes out and she calls out Asuka of all people. Now, I have to start by saying I don't have a problem necessarily with her calling out Asuka, because you're on the damn show, you're supposed to be a wrestler, you're supposed to be a competitor. Like, yeah, you should come out and be like, look, you know, come see me, you know, I'm not afraid of you. That's what you're supposed to do. So I don't hate her for doing that. You're supposed to come out, you're supposed to challenge the champ, you're supposed to show that you're not afraid. But with that being said, I know it, she knows it, even the crowd knows it. Although everybody respects the fact that she challenged her, everybody started chanting, Asuka's gonna kill you. And this is what's going to happen. If we're going to have Asuka I guess for Asuka this is going to be a throwaway match, because I'd rather see her face Ember Moon. I'd rather see her face that other girl with the cornrows that had the MMA thing going. Those two girls seem like they're going to be a threat. Asuka is going to kill Liv Morgan, but at the end of the day, you got to give Liv Morgan respect for even, you know, opening her mouth to even want to have the match. So hopefully this match doesn't take too long and it goes less than the squash that Nia Jax did to Alicia Fox. Hideo Itami and the Authors of Pain pick up tag team victories. And finally, in our main event, we have No Way Jose versus Bobby Roode. This was, I guess, a glorious victory for Bobby Roode, but no reason to spend a lot of time on this, because, I mean, it's No Way Jose, it's Bobby Roode, you know he's not going to win. So, you know, I mean, this is basically just warm-ups for Bobby Roode. And, you know, to be honest, I really hope Aries, Roode, and Samoa Joe get off NXT pretty soon, because, like Daniel Bryan said in an interview, like, guys are being kept down there too long, and the three of them don't need to be there. To be honest, like, Bobby Roode shouldn't even be there now. You know, Austin Aries shouldn't be there now. Samoa Joe shouldn't be there now. So, I mean, enough with them destroying, you know, like these up and coming no name guys. Let these up and comers fight other up and comers so they can come up. Don't have them fight people that they're obviously not going to win against, because it makes these feuds boring, and it makes these feuds, you know, it makes these feuds seem like pointless. Bobby Roode definitely gets the win here. Another glorious victory for a glorious competitor, and that's your NXT show. You know, I'd have to give NXT 6, because they had good matches, but nothing happened. Like with the tag team match, nothing happened afterwards. Hideo Itami, nothing happened afterwards. Liv Morgan, you know, I mean, that was as good as it was gonna get, but yeah, nothing really happened. So, yeah, I would have to give NXT like a 6.5 this week. But yeah, but overall, that was the week of wrestling for this week of wrestling. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we got a lot of fall shows coming back that I'm definitely excited for. So I'll be doing some videos for that too. We got Gotham coming up, Agents of Shield, and then in another few weeks, my DC TV is coming back. So until then, take care. See you later.